Hello, folks. We're back here at Education Matters. I appreciate you coming and hearing us again this week. And this week we have two new guests. We have Patrice Benard, who's a mom and can give us some insight on her feelings about leveling. This show will be on leveling or de-leveling or detracking. We're trying to figure out the words. And we have our special guest is Robin Dunphy, who will be the one to tell us the facts on the matter of what happened at the meeting and the Curriculum Instruction Committee last Monday night. So,
thank you
hello.
for having us.
Good afternoon. Here we go.
Here we go. All right, well, today we're going to watch a clip of the Curriculum Instruction Committee, just to give you a preview of a little bit of what some of the questions were by the school board members. And so, John, if you could play that clip, that would be great.
Because that's the key changer, is people understanding or believing
That, you know what? Maybe this isn't the best way to go about it. Maybe there is a better way for us to be able to do this for all students and still preserve that high level of rigor in classrooms for not only my student, my own child, but for all the kids in the school.
I think my follow-up to that would be, that I think that is, I completely see what you're talking about in terms of we want to raise the level of learning for students who are in quote unquote what we put them right now in lower levels. I think we, as a parent of students that were tracked at a higher level, I can say that I know that, as speaking on behalf of other parents, they're going to want to understand how it is that their child will still achieve the same understanding, the same levels of understanding and abilities to options, So I think we're going to have to address that very head on, because it's going to be the elephant in the room if we don't.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's a good question. What do we say to parents, and what does the research say about students who are at the top levels right now? Will they still be challenged in the same way? Will they still have the same opportunities to achieve, or will this, with de-leveling, hold those students back in some way?
One of the researchers who in Rockefeller Center, which is in New York, was able to identify and answer some of those questions. And the answer was that not only was the level of academic rigor at the same level for students, and this goes to some of what Pat has in terms of personalized instruction, but also what our students spoke about. There were enrichment opportunities for those students as they wanted to accelerate through their learning. So they weren't also being held back, so to speak, by other students who you reach a certain ceiling in the higher level class that all students have to aspire to. They blew the ceiling off. So for all students, there's a threshold you want all students to get to, but you don't want to stop students from continuing on. So those enrichment opportunities for kids, and that's where the training comes in for the teacher, is to first of all be able to assess appropriately and identify the different learning styles and the different abilities in that classroom, and to provide equitable support, not equal, not fair or same, but equitable support for each of the students. And the chances are really good that in a classroom of 26 students that you're going to have 4 or 5 different subgroups of kids who are around the same place that really thrive working with each other and are of the same learning style. And so that's the skill that is then developed for that teacher, so that each child is challenged to a higher level based on where he or she is in their own learning, not where the teacher has to get them to before June.
Can I suggest something?
Right in.
Mill Falls Charter School, Montessori, that's what this is. Each child has their own plan. They go at their own pace. They're all in the same classroom. There's no high level, there's no level, there's individual levels. And it works.
I think that's what our elementary schools see
Really
right
well.
now. I think that they're, across the board for elementary.
Okay, Robin. Well, I think it's your territory to let us know what all these questions were that were from the school board members, and what your feelings were on the subject that's at hand here.
Well, I'll start with Mr. Ryan had a conversation with us in the Curriculum Instruction Committee discussing the middle school innovation team that was a group put together. We're still waiting for a list of who's involved on this team. We did request that. So as soon as I get that, I can share that information, but I haven't received it yet. And that was back in March 25th, in fact. So we requested to find out who was involved in this, and it includes middle school principals. We do know that. And what they were doing was working together to figure out what they believed a great middle school would be without looking at costs of money right now. One of the topics that came up was the topic of leveling. And we as a group got together and we came up with some questions that or concerns or areas we wanted to learn more about. So during that meeting, we wanted to know things about the benefit deficit analysis of leveling, education theory about leveling, leveling at high schools, what they are doing, how they're doing it, how do college admissions offices view leveling, are there barriers established with academic levels, class rank, should only core classes count toward it, to what degree do levels influence student behavior. I've since added on student self-worth, self-respect, prejudice, and bias. And we asked him how we could look for further information. This is only right now a discussion. It is not, to my knowledge, or to my attitude, because to me, we need to research, we need to understand it. I have seen great things at different places where this is already happening, and it is a no-brainer as far as how it works. However, we need to keep in mind that not every child fits into one system. So we need to explore it. We don't necessarily have to go in that direction. I already see a wildfire starting because the topic was brought up.
Yes, we have the union leader that came out today with an article about the meeting, and there was another article, was it? Oh, well, I'm wondering if this topic is being brought up because of the federal civil rights case that the city has negotiated with the NAACP. Is that part of the equation, or should we not even go there?
I don't think personally that we need to go in that direction. We were discussing this before that came up at the last meeting. And to me, I don't see, when I look at issues around leveling, I see more socioeconomic. I see more issues with maybe lack of parent involvement. I don't see it necessarily broken down as a race issue. Another issue is maybe not fully understanding the special education system and, the ability to move up in levels. That's where I see it more often, but that's how I look at it.
Do the students have the ability to move up now? As Mr. Ronald Miller made mention on the Facebook page, asked the school board.
Yes.
And I recommend folks, if you want to keep up to date of what's, the topics that are happening in the school system, go to the Facebook page, ask the school board. And you
Yes.
see a lot of things being mentioned there.
Absolutely, they have. It's not a system where kids who improve, if they, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, something clicks and they're motivated and they want to go to the next level, they are encouraged to go.
We're not
Teachers
tracking.
encourage them. It's more leveling. It's not tracking.
It's not tracking.
It's not
them.
that traditional sense
Right.
where.
And that's what Mr. Miller was making mention of, that we don't track
Right.
students in this city, in the school system. We just help them with extra help at the level that they need, and we send them forward
Correct.
as quickly as we can.
I'd like to, when leveling started at the middle schools. My daughter was part of that first year at McLaughlin, and it was the kneecap score, the teacher's recommendation, and the parents' recommendation. So all three had to come together and agree that your child would be placed in this level class. So I don't think we're
Correct.
doing something where we're going just by one metric, whatever they
Correct.
call it. We're actually taking in input from all three sources, and the parents' voice is important,
Absolutely.
and you have to agree to your child being placed in that track. So I don't think that it's
Especially if
done
they're
wrong.
borderline.
Right, and I don't think Manchester has done a bad job of that at the
Right.
middle school level. I
Right.
don't know what the problem is and why this came up. Is this because it's an educational fad we're going through? Or-
Everything in education is a fad.
Okay.
It's a pendulum.
Okay.
We go back and forth, and we catch on to a new wave, and things change. However, what we're seeing right now is we're looking at classroom size. We're looking at ways to address the issues that we have. And I think when you get so many complaints about how things are done now, we look to other ideas to try. And I hear the word experiment a lot. I hear, comments such as that which make it look like there's no real forethought. Right now, we are only in an idea exploring stage. That is all. I have no intention of jumping in. I happen to love what I saw in the environment I was in. And people ask me, was it a socio-economic, type of school situation that we have here in Manchester? Well, the school is in Manchester. It's a public school, so it is diverse. It's as diverse as any classroom I've been in here in Manchester, the public city schools.
Right.
So,
And what is the class size at a typical Montessori school?
well, the place that I was in was 18 kids, and
For one teacher?
a teacher and an assistant teacher. And while lessons were being given, the assistant teacher would be in the room, and the kids would be working on their plans. And it did work quite well.
The Montessori method's been around for years
Correct.
and years and years.
Correct. And I'm not, again, so that I don't get a whole lot of emails, I am not professing that we should turn to a Montessori style. I am saying that every child learns differently, and we shouldn't just expect everyone to fit into one box. And it's okay to address different types of needs. I mean, we're in a city that we should have a metropolis of learning, and we don't. We should have one stream of our schools. We could do this individualized learning. We could have a stream that continues the tracking. We could have a vocational stream. And I mean, build up that. We have such a gift here that we're just starting to truly utilize is our, MST. And there's another little idea that I really think we should be looking at as well, and that's an alternative school.
Yes, could you elaborate on that for us? Because you were mentioning.
A lot of concerns when the idea for moving the students at Jewett to Southside. There was a lot of fear, and I'm not saying it was unreasonable fear. There was a lot of concern and fear regarding bringing the grades all together in one building, and incidences were brought up in reference that parents in the city have heard about. Well, perhaps we should have an alternative school so that when we have children who are disrupting the learning of others, that they can go to, be there, and when they're ready and they've proven themselves, come back to their own schools.
The state actually has schools like that.
I know, but we should have our own.
Searusk or whatever does. They have
Spalding.
They have a place down in Amherst, I believe it is. One's called the Summit School, and one place is called the Academy. The Summit School primarily handles emotionally handicapped, I believe. And then the Academy handles children with NVLD and non-learning or their social skills deficits. And those are great schools, and they work very well. Yes, they're not mainstreamed, but not every child should be mainstreamed. So there are places that they can go, and they can get a good education, and then if they want to transition back, they can.
Please know that, too, that not every child that this, what I'm suggesting, would be on an IEP of some type. There are some kids that make wrong choices
Yes.
and make continuous wrong choices, and disrupting classrooms, in my opinion, is unacceptable.
Right.
You know, you have the right to an education. You do not have the right to disrupt other people's education. So that's another area that should be seriously looked at. But again, this is just the topic of de-leveling is a conversation as far as I'm concerned. If, you know, if there's other things going on, it's not to my knowledge, but I truly believe at this rate, as shown in the clip, we have a lot of questions.
Yes, we do.
And we, just sitting in that room, we haven't even expanded. That was our first big conversation that was out there. So now it's time for the input of families and parents and everyone else involved, and students. We have, you know, the students are old enough to be involved, to have their 2 cents in. Middle school is plenty old enough for them to have a say in their own education.
Well, we have the questions in the Union Leader after the article today, and obviously those will have to be addressed one way or another, and perhaps we can have you back on again as the topic unfolds.
Sure,
And
that would be great.
because as it progresses, you know, we'll probably have more. You'll probably have more ideas to share with us of how the school board is moving forward, and it's good to move forward as a community,
Right.
and that we're all on the same page. We're all supporting, you know, the administration, the superintendent, the school board, and so we don't have this uproar.
Right, and I think it's very important that people understand that the concept of de-leveling isn't a race to the middle. I'm trying to think of some other things. If it is correctly done, it really is nothing but going and expecting higher expectations and giving higher and allowing higher. But what we need is a lot of work in between to get there. And
We need to make the foundation so that it perhaps can work
and
properly.
we have to have the expectation and the follow-through of the administration that this will be done by everybody working in the district, and that's very important.
Can you see a de-leveled class with just one teacher?
Yeah,
Really?
I can.
30
No
students?
aides, no nothing, 25 to 30 students.
It's
and one
possible
teacher.
depending on the
I-
teacher. However, it also depends on the topic.
Okay.
I mean, do I see that happening in a science class?
Okay.
No.
So we are talking about really individualizing
Yes.
and looking at individual subjects, individual grades, and how it can be done.
class sizes.
Yes.
That's
one of the-
another important
One of the
thing.
big things that I know, Dave Ryan and I have spoken about Finland and their education system. They have 3 teachers in every room, 2 to teach content and 1 to help students, and all of them have master's degrees.
Right.
That's a totally
That would be
different-
an economic burden I don't know that we can handle at this point. Could we get there at some point? Might not be a bad idea, or at least in one building of our school district.
Right.
Maybe we have one school. I think there is a lot to learn, but as a parent of someone who was on that gifted side, yeah, you're not taking away my levels. Not for my child. That's how I feel right now, without knowing more.
Well, I'm a parent of a special education student that graduated 2 years ago, and I saw the low-level kids with IEPs who, you know, learning disabilities grouped in with emotional behavior disabilities. They are not one and the same,
No, they're not.
and they are grouped together. And So would I think that would be a huge benefit? Absolutely. But again, if we had that type of opportunity with an alternative school program,
There you go.
we're good to go.
There you go.
And I think that more people would likely be open to some of this if they actually thought that what is perceived as the low-level classroom now is not the population that necessarily would be disrupting the classroom. Because there's a difference between kids asking questions. Because children at a high-level class ask just as many questions.
Yes, they do.
It's just a different kind of question. And all questions are welcome and supposed to be welcome in school.
That's right.
But if the disruption is behavioral, that's a big difference.
That's huge.
And to me, that's where we should be stopping it. You say, that's not okay. And
That's
we
right.
do something about it.
That's right. Well, I would just like to let the folks know about the resource that David Ryan was using at the Curriculum Instruction Committee meeting on Monday. It's called D-Tracking for Excellence and Equity. And it's by Carol Corbett Burris and Dahlia T. Garrity. So that's the book that David Ryan is taking some information from. If anyone would like to go and get that book and see, where his thoughts are coming from.
And please, when you read it, because there are certain comments in some of the reading that to me are
Shocking.
no more insulting.
Insulting. Oh my God.
In the sense that, the way people, I don't quite see people as black and white, I guess, as the information that I read. I looked at it as the ideas on an overview, and I think that's how I believe that's how he's delivering it to us, to get us as much reading material as we can get. Personally, I don't look at it as a political issue, as parts of this it's the politics of detracking. I don't look at it quite in that way. I try to look at it from just an educational point of view, and I invite people to please do the
So,
same.
When you are looking at that, I noticed that yours says Chapter 4. On the web, available for free, is Chapter 2, which is another part of this book. And it's what is tracking and how to start dismantling it.
Yeah, hers was the political.
Oh, I got a second. Oh wait, I got a second part too somewhere. But yeah, that's just the part that's on
Okay.
top. But you're welcome to
Yes,
look at this one.
because that's locked on the internet, so you would have to be a member to get that.
Oh,
Yes, not all the
I
chapters are
did
unlocked.
ask for everything to try to. I think it was you, Deborah, who had it on there saying that it wasn't available in the minutes, or someone had pointed
Yes,
it
the
out.
homework packet
Yeah, the
was.
homework.
The homework packet. Yeah, I actually have that here too. That was called the Organization of Students for Instruction in the Middle School by Maureen T. Hallinan, Hallinan, from the University of Notre Dame. I did read this material. It's interesting. It does give you some facts. It's a bit old, though. It's, if I remember correctly, it was about 22 years old for informational purposes. So
Well, but
it's a
de-leveling,
start.
de-leveling has gone back a long ways. Back in 1930, here we go, the 1930s, state standards. It has a whole chapter here on the rural school and how the teacher can work with grades 1 through 8, and it shows a timetable, a suggested timetable, so that she can get all of her courses in. So maybe we're going back to the future, Robin? Is that
Possible.
that we could be going back to that type of idea where we could be bringing in a small community and one teacher teaches these children, stays with them for the elementary years? Is that possible?
It's been done.
It has been done.
That's the one room.
It has been
Is
done.
that the one room schoolhouse?
But again, as I said, education is a pendulum, and it just goes back and forth, back and forth. But I would like people to keep in mind when they're looking and discussing the situation of leveling, that with our STEAM Ahead program and the competency-based learning stressed by Dr. Brennan, all these things that we have been trying to see happen in this district, it's all going to, I mean, how does that fit into leveling? We're not going to have it only for one group of kids. You know, the idea of, my son had an internship through BAE, through Central, and he got credit, and he was in the low-level classes, and he received credit for his graduation. It's another concept of getting out from beyond the walls of the school. So where does leveling fit into that? It doesn't. It's
Right.
not. It's not even a
not an issue.
necessity. So if we're trying to head in that direction so that we can get some real world experience, look at that as well, because that's not going to help or hinder leveling.
Do you know if MST, where I got my hair cut done, by
Very
the way?
nice.
Thank you, Kristen, over at MST. Do you know if MST levels in any of their classes? Because that's a different type of education as well.
I'd have to look on that to be definite. I don't want to give an answer that I don't
Okay.
know for sure. That
But
wouldn't be fair.
that's another different school we have in our district. So,
But if every child has his own program, basically, he's working at his own level, at his own pace, you could probably have 30 levels in the class. I mean, or the teacher could maybe group and have maybe 4 levels within the classroom. It's whatever she finds her students need.
Right.
And she's in control there, and she's doing the formative testing. And
Or actually, they're in control, and she's more the support, or he's more the support. Learning can be, some of the best learning is self-subscribed. But again, that doesn't work if the student's not motivated. We have to have, to me, we have to have more than one way to go. Not every child is capable, because they're all made different. So if people could listen long enough, add their input, not get upset thinking something drastic is going to change, because personally, I'll do whatever I can to make sure nothing changes quickly. Because that's just not the way to go.
I don't know if we've answered all the parents' questions today.
I'm sure we haven't.
No.
We couldn't possibly.
No. But if the folks would go to Ask the School Board, and maybe we continue the conversation there, and try to, come back to the school board meetings and listen up and see, where.
And list your questions. I'll keep track of them, and I'll
Yes.
keep bringing them in to find out answers, because they're your kids.
do you want to give us your email so we could list them out? And
Sure.
It's
You can.
POSC?
Yes, Ward 6
Okay.
at MANSD for Manchester School District.org. And
Okay.
I'll take any questions, and if I don't have an answer, I'll get an answer. But please, again, what we really need to do is make sure that we keep an open line of communication, but we have to keep a good line so we don't have the chaos, and that's what I called what just happened with the information coming at people in different forms, in different ways, and causing so much panic for poor parents. That can't happen again, and we need to make sure that everything is defined so that there isn't questions, and keep going from there.
Okay, well, we really appreciate having you on today and answering some of the concerns we might have here and bringing us some of this information. And it's just a start, and so, we'll.
Start of a topic,
Yes.
not necessarily a change.
Right. Okay, well, we'll see where this goes. And folks, we appreciate you joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Education Matters.
Thank you.
Take care.